Hi, my name is Troy Hubble from yourdyslexiaexpert.com. This is a little overview of my site. I hope you check me out after this video, but I wanted to make a video today to give you a practical tool that you can use right now to help somebody who has dyslexia learn how to spell. This tool is called phoneme grapheme mapping, and it has a lot of evidence to it. And what that means is phoneme is the smallest unit of sound in our spoken language. It turns out that the ability to isolate and manipulate phonemes is very important to reading. A grapheme is a letter or group of letters that represents a sound. Phoneme grapheme mapping, then, is building a bridge in the brain from the phoneme, the sound, to the grapheme. So let's get started. This is something that you could do at home. I am going to use these three colored dots to show you how to do this strategy, but I would say you can use digital manipulatives or physical manipulatives. It doesn't really matter, and they can be literally anything that a student can move around. And you also need some sort of a rectangle divided into squares. These are called elkonin boxes. I'll put all of these terms in the video description so that you can look them up at your leisure. With that being said, when I do phoneme grapheme mapping without all of the supplies that I have as a professional dyslexia tutor, so I'll show you a little bit more of what I would actually use given the training and resources that I have, but this is something that you could use at home fairly easily. I first look for something to represent vowel sounds. A vowel sound is something we all know what our vowels are, but it's shockingly hard to define for most of us. All vowel sound means is that our mouth is open, our airway is not constricted, and we use our voice. So, ah, eh. There's no part of our mouth that's constricting our airway. We're using our voice. Also, most vowel sounds are going to be continuous. We can keep making them, but not all of them, like oi, ow, are not so much. Really, it just means open and voiced. I also like having something to represent silent letters, and I'll show you why in just a minute. And I like having a different color, a different kind of a thing to represent consonants. And again, I'll show you why in just a minute. So with phoneme grapheme mapping, we're going to have 3 steps. Step 1 is to give the student a word. Step 2 is to allow that student, if they've been doing this for a while, or if they're brand new, help them, or even the first couple of times, just show them how to break that word into sounds, phonemes. And they're going to represent those sounds with these manipulatives, or whatever manipulatives you choose to use. You can use quarters, pennies, it doesn't matter. Then we're going to have students move the manipulatives out of these little elkonin boxes and replace the manipulative with the letters that correspond to that sound. Sounds simple, but let's do a few so that we can see how to handle some of the trickier words in English with this strategy. Let's start with the word bat. Bat has 3 phonemes, b, a, t. So if I wanted to represent that sound, I would drag down a consonant sound, b. I would drag down a vowel sound, a, and another consonant sound, t. B, a, t. This represents the sounds in bat. Now, I'm going to move these manipulatives up out of the elkonin box, and I'm going to put 1 spelling per box. There can be more than 1 letter in a box, but the letters can only represent 1 sound. So you'll see what that looks like in just a moment. So for bat, I would move this one up, and I would write the letter B. I would move this one up, and I would write the letter A. Best practice is if the student can say and write the letter at the same time. So as they're writing this one, say B. As they're writing this one, say A. We'll move this one up, and I'll put a T. Okay, pretty easy word, phoneme grapheme mapping. Then at the end, have the student sound out their word and check if they got it right. B, a, t, bat. All looks good. So I'm going to delete these letters and these manipulatives that we just used, and I'm going to add a little bit more complication to a phoneme grapheme mapping word. This time, we are going to use the word seek. Seek also has three sounds: s, e, k. Now, here's what I would do. After I've taught my students the spelling for this long E sound, in this case, it's digraphed EE, I'm going to have them show me at this stage that they know it's a digraph, because instead of one little vowel circle, I'm going to have them use two little vowel circles. If I'm using physical manipulatives, a lot of times I like to use those connector cubes so that the kids can stack the connector cubes up and link them to each other. Then I'm going to do this exactly the same way. Remember, each box can have more than one letter, but it can only have one sound. So for the word seek, S is represented by the letter S. E is represented by digraph EE, and that is why we had those two yellows together in there. And then K is represented by the letter K. I'm going to show you one more little bit of complexity that you can use, but know that this can actually get pretty tricky. It would take a long video to model all of the different kinds of things that you could map with phoneme grapheme mapping. I wanted to give you a sense of the strategy though. This time, I'm going to write the word bake, like bake a cake. Bake also has three phonemes: B, A, K. But we know that to make this A long, so that it says bake instead of back, that we need to put an E at the end of this word. That E, though, has no sound. It represents no sound. It's just a way to signal to us that this A is going to say its long sound, A. So the way that I do this is I'll put this little blank dot up here to represent silent sounds, okay? And then I'll represent bake this way, B. A, K. And I'll put the KE in the box together. And then, to show that really what this A sound is A consonant E, I'll draw an arrow from the E to the A. I'll have my students do that. And then, of course, always have them read the word B-A-K, bake. This strategy is called phoneme grapheme mapping, and it is one of the strongest, most evidence-based strategies that you can do to help link spellings to words. So what challenges are you likely to come up with? Well, when you have been studying how to teach reading, you tend to know all of the different spelling rules and how you're going to spell each sound and why you're going to spell it that way. If you're going to do this at home, know that when you start getting into complicated spellings, you're probably going to need to do a lot of Googling to figure out, when do I use A consonant E? When do I use digraph AI? When do I use digraph AY? It really helps to be able to understand how and when we use those sounds so that we can explain that to students. Equally, you're going to run into some fairly tricky situations, like for example, the letter X, where one grapheme can actually represent two phonemes. And I'll give you this one. For the letter X, I actually put K, S across two boxes, and then I have them write the letter X such that it actually goes across the two lines. But there's lots of different ways you can do this, as long as you do this consistently, so that every single time it makes the kids are representing the sounds the same way, you'll probably be okay. This is more what phoneme grapheme mapping might look like at a dyslexia therapist kind of level. Rather than just the colored tiles, we're going to use pictures that represent the sounds that our mouths make. This actually represents all of the 44 sounds in the English language. And students will pull the appropriate picture to represent the appropriate sound. So, B, our mouth goes like this. A, T, bat. Unfortunately, this isn't something I can share with you guys. You'd have to go through take flight training with an organization like Alta to be able to access these resources. But I did want to show you what this can look like. Again, one of the advantages to hiring an expert rather than trying this on your own is that that expert will be able to bring resources and knowledge and strategies and experience that makes this process easier. That being said, you can get a lot of bang for your buck using just this regular old phoneme grapheme mapping strategy. As always, please like and subscribe. Like my video, subscribe to my channel. Please share with anyone who this might be helpful to. Let me know in the comments or contact me through my website if there's something else you'd like to see a video about. And as always, if you know somebody who is struggling with reading or dyslexia, please, please, please reach out to me. My website is yourdyslexiaexpert.com. I'm here to help. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Bye.